honestly believe Sophie Cunningham may be the most popular women's basketball player not named Caitlin Clark. And I don't say that out of nowhere. I say that based on data. Now, that doesn't mean she's anywhere close to the second best basketball player or one of the best basketball players or anything like that. Obviously, there is Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier and so on and so forth. And the young players, Paige and Angel and, so many. I mean, there's a lot before Sophie. And maybe this is a temporary boom. So, I don't want to jump all the way off the ledge because Angel Reese has been right there with Caitlin.
Let's set the record straight. This wasn't some inflated claim manufactured by hype merchants. The numbers were cold, clinical, and unambiguous. Sophie Cunningham commanded an unexpectedly massive surge in public interest, surpassing even Caitlin Clark, the league's golden phenomenon. And in a league filled with generational icons like Aya Wilson, rising young forces like Aaliyah Boston, and relentless talents like Alyssa Thomas, all of whom boast undeniable credentials. This shift created a fascinating dynamic. Search interest tells a different kind of story. A story not measured by points per game or championship rings, but by cultural resonance. It revealed a new type of star emerging, one who thrives not only through on-court brilliance, but through the narrative magnetism of the digital age. Sophie's data-driven popularity proved that celebrity in 2024 isn't confined to box scores. Instead, it's shaped by personality, perception, and online momentum, factors capable of catapulting a player into a spotlight few anticipated, regardless of where they stand in the traditional basketball hierarchy.
Apparently, her search interest is the same. According to Boardroom, she was the most searched WNBA player this year. Now, a lot of that had to do with the protecting of Caitlin Clark. And it was like, who's this? Sophie Cunningham. And everybody's learning about Sophie. But you've seen her leverage that since. And really, her star power is not all based on basketball, right? It's not a basketball-centric thing, but it is certainly a thing. And, that comes with being in proximity to Caitlin Clark and obviously playing for the Indiana Fever. So the question is it a temporary fever or a lasting one? And that's what you'll have.
Let's make something very clear. None of this narrative is meant to diminish Sophie Cunningham's basketball ability. She's a legitimately strong player, tough, versatile, capable of starting games or coming off the bench with equal effectiveness. She shoots well, plays with fire, and brings relentless energy every time she steps on the court. Her contributions to the Fever are real and respected. But here's the truth. Her sudden explosion in public recognition wasn't solely tied to her performance. It skyrocketed far beyond what her stat line suggests. Her surge tapped into something cultural, an entirely different realm of fame that exists outside traditional basketball evaluations. It shocked the league because it highlighted how modern sports celebrity can emerge from narrative, emotion, and virality, not just athletic dominance. Sophie's rise wasn't about numbers on a scoreboard. It was about a moment that resonated with millions.
Is it a temporary fever or a lasting one? And that's what you'll have to see with Sophie going forward. But this is the numbers from Boardroom right here. Most searched athletes in 2025. As you can see, there's Sophie Cunningham. Caitlin Clark, not even up there. Now, Caitlin Clark was down for a lot this season. That made a big difference, of course. And some of the other players are already known. And when I say not all based on basketball, that's the case for other players too. I would say the same for Angel Reese, who is really, really good at what she does on the court. I'm not saying anything negative in a basketball standpoint, but she's also carved out a brand for herself in sort of an...
Here's where things get genuinely intriguing. One of the catalysts behind this sudden shift can be traced back to Caitlin Clark herself, but not in the way you might think. During the exact window when Boardroom gathered its data, Clark's usually overwhelming digital dominance dipped ever so slightly. Just a small lull. But with the level of fame being so stratospheric, even a tiny dip creates shockingly wide space. Like the digital world suddenly has room for someone new to explode. And that's exactly what happened. That brief pause in Clark's search traffic created a vacuum, a rare moment where another name could surge into the public consciousness. Sophie stepped into the gap with perfect timing, transforming a fleeting opportunity into a full-blown takeover of the digital spotlight. It was a stark reminder of how quickly public attention can pivot and how fluid, unpredictable, and competitive the online landscape truly is.
For other players too, I would say the same for Angel Reese, who is really, really good at what she does on the court. I'm not saying anything negative in a basketball standpoint, but she's also carved out a brand for herself in sort of an influencer type of space and Victoria's Secret stuff and all that. So it's not purely basketball. It started because of basketball. Now, a lot of the other players are more, based on basketball. Paige is, a little bit of a TikTok star and the like, but it's all more a little bit rooted in basketball for her, and then obviously players like Asia and Nafisa. It's all pretty.
Now, let's break down the origin point of this rapid ascent. Sophie's rise didn't happen in isolation. It was deeply rooted in her proximity to Caitlin Clark. Being teammates placed her squarely in the brightest media glare the WNBA has ever seen. Clark's rookie season didn't just elevate the fever. It turned every player around her into a subject of heightened attention. Every glance, every huddle, every shared clip from practice or games. Everything involving Clark was amplified 1,000-fold. And naturally, Sophie's presence in that environment meant her visibility grew in parallel. She was constantly in the frame, a recurring figure in the story of Clark's historic season. That slow-building exposure created the perfect foundation for what would later become her massive spike in public interest. The stage was set long before the moment even arrived.
Like Asia and Nafisa, it's all pretty much basketball. And I think with Caitlin Clark, it started with basketball. And that has always been the root of her explosive popularity. But Sophie Cunningham, I did the video the other day about, her speaking about Caitlin Clark a lot. And, that proximity to Caitlin Clark has done a lot, right? Like, she stood up for Clark in that one moment against J.C. Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun, and nothing has been the same since. Arby's deals, ring camera deals.
Then came the moment that changed everything, the viral spark that ignited the wildfire. It was that heated confrontation with Connecticut Sun's J.C. Sheldon where Sophie stepped in fiercely, instinctively defending Caitlin Clark. That intensity, captured perfectly on cameras from every angle, exploded across social media with incredible force. In one instant, Sophie was no longer viewed as just a solid role player. She became the fearless protector, the teammate who stood up, stood firm, and refused to back down. The clip circulated for days, then weeks, generating millions of views and transforming her from a respected player into a cult icon for an entirely new wave of fans. That single act shifted her narrative and permanently altered her public profile. Nothing in her career looked the same after that moment.
Right? Like, she stood up for Clark in that one moment against J.C. Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun, and nothing has been the same since. Arby's deals, ring camera deals, podcasts, all those sorts of things. And search interest, can be a lot of it at once. I'm not saying it, I don't have the graph to see how it played out over the year, but I will say it backs up the numbers that I've seen, because I've said that behind the scenes many a times that I wonder, is Sophie Cunningham actually the second? It's sort of counterintuitive because I know she's not even close.
The moment the numbers dropped, it felt like a thunderclap ripping straight through the WNBA and the entire sports universe. You're not going to believe this, but Sophie Cunningham didn't just have a brief spike in popularity. For a sustained period, she officially held the title of the most searched WNBA player. Yes, even ahead of Caitlin Clark. And no, this wasn't gossip, exaggeration, or someone fishing for clicks. This was verified, hardline, unfiltered data straight from Boardroom, backed by real search analytics. The kind of irrefutable numbers that don't just shift narratives, they detonate them. The shockwaves were massive, forcing fans, analysts, and league executives alike to confront a startling reality. The modern landscape of WNBA stardom is evolving in ways no one anticipated. This wasn't merely about basketball skill or highlight plays anymore. It exposed a powerful truth about how digital engagement works in today's hyper-connected era. Viral visibility, cultural moments, and personality-driven attention are beginning to rival, sometimes even overshadow, traditional on-court dominance. And Sophie Cunningham, of all players, stood right at the epicenter of that seismic transformation.
I've said that behind the scenes many a times that I wonder, is Sophie Cunningham actually the second? It's sort of counterintuitive because I know she's not even close to the second best basketball. Not even close. Like, she's a good basketball player, a very good basketball player, high level role player, right? She can start, she can come off the bench, she can shoot, she's tough, all that stuff. So she has value on the court. It's not to dismiss that, but obviously her star power is born from something else. So it makes you a little bit hesitant to say something like that because you'll get the blowback of, come on, how dare you? How dare you? But I'm just saying, it's backed up by the numbers I see.
After that viral eruption, Sophie didn't hesitate. She seized the momentum with flawless precision. Endorsement deals rolled in like the high-profile Ring partnership, and she made multiple podcast appearances, strategically stepping into spaces that extended her reach beyond basketball. Her evolution resembled a modern blueprint. Athletes who understand that branding is as critical as performance. Angel Reese cultivated that same hybrid model, merging her championship pedigree with undeniable market presence. Even Paige Buecher's blends elite skill with digital charisma to amplify her influence. But Sophie's rise was different. It didn't build gradually. It burst into existence almost overnight, fueled by a single dramatic confrontation. That's what makes her trajectory so fascinating. Her fame was triggered not by slow accumulation, but by a sudden ignition point, something only possible in today's viral ecosystem. This raises the question of longevity. Will her popularity remain tied to the Clark connection, or has she developed her own standalone appeal? The answer will determine whether she's a momentary phenomenon or a long-term force in the WNBA's cultural framework. Boardroom's data didn't lie. She genuinely surpassed Clark in searches during that stretch, forcing a complete re-evaluation of how the public consumes WNBA content. And while much of the surge was rooted in curiosity, millions asking, "Who is Sophie Cunningham?" What followed was authentic engagement. Her rise proved something crucial. Fame today isn't strictly athletic. It's narrative, it's personality, it's connection. This creates uncomfortable implications for established stars like Wilson, Boston, and Stewart, icons whose skills are unquestioned yet who found themselves temporarily overshadowed by a role player with a viral moment. The dynamic between Clark and Sophie has become a strange, unintended partnership. Clark's gravitational pull launching Sophie into orbit. And together, whether planned or not, they've expanded the WNBA's reach in ways few expected. It even raises one electrifying, almost unthinkable question. If public attention shifts this dramatically, could the league's balance of power shift with it? Enough to push Clark toward new opportunities outside the WNBA? A question that once felt impossible now feels eerily plausible.